Joe, welcome. Great to see you. And how are things in Macomb this morning?
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Bob. Things are great in Macomb and excited to be with you all here today.
Uh, Quite a couple. Let's see now, about 7.5, 8 months for you. So let's just hit that right off the top, Joe. You helped orchestrate a much improved offense at Eastern Illinois last year. The Western job became available. You hopped across the state. How to take us through what happened in that December, January timeframe?
Yeah, well, certainly a whirlwind, but an exciting one. I was very, very familiar with Western Illinois football, just having been a coordinator in the Missouri Valley and certainly been a part of FCS football now for a decade, and knew the football tradition and excellence that has come through here. And so that right away excited me. I think the move into the Ohio Valley Conference is an excellent fit. Not only for Western Illinois University football, but just for the department as a whole. I say there's a lot to be said about camaraderie. When the women's basketball team plays UT Martin and the football team plays UT Martin, and I think having all the sports under one roof is really a cool thing. So it's been fast and furious, but it's been exciting. My family and I are settled here in Macomb and have been very, very welcomed into the community, and couldn't be more excited here to get going this fall.
Tell us about the Fast and Furious. What's it like making that move, assembling a staff, uh, and putting it all together prior to spring ball?
Well, the emphasis on putting together a staff was on finding men of character first. I was very interested in coaches that took the role of mentor and teacher very, very seriously. The X's and O's component, the football acumen component to me was secondary to coaches that wanted to come in here and mentor young men, coaches that wanted to come in here and make a difference. And I've often used the reference that my college head coach had such a immense impact on my growth as a young man, and I had said, at that age, wow, how cool would it be if I could somehow have the same impact on a player that this coach has had on my life. And so that was a priority in the hiring process for me, is finding those type of coaches. And I think we've assembled an excellent staff. The second part of that component when looking at staff, Bob, was I want guys from winning programs. I think every single coach that we hired that was new to the program was coming from a winning program, whether it be at the Power Five level or the Group of Five level or FCS or Division II. I wanted guys that knew what it looked like to be a part of a winning program. And so we were able to check a lot of boxes with these coaches, and really excited to see them on the grass here in a couple weeks.
Let's go back to your playing days at Adrian College. You've always been an offensive guy, so kind of take us through the undergrad. Yeah, bachelor's in communications, so you know that's where the familiarities between you and I stop because we both have one of those.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
on to a master's in sports administration. Has it always been your idea to be a coach?
It has not, and my legacy as a player grows every single year. That I leave there, I become a better and better player, especially as I
Absolutely, that's how it
talk to my
works.
daughters about it. So, yeah, I mean, I grew up in Metro Detroit and attended a Division III school. Adrian College there in Michigan. I wanted to play two sports. I played basketball for a couple of years there as well, in addition to football, and had an unbelievable experience. Met many of the best friends in my life. In fact, many of my teammates from Adrian, we've all stood up in each other's weddings over the years, so I was just good enough player to continue playing after college. I went and spent a year in Europe playing football, and then came back to the States and played in the Arena Football League for 3 years. I tried to delay getting a real job as long as I could. But yeah, my undergraduate degree really was an emphasis in radio and television. And I had interned at Fox Sports Detroit with the full intention of getting into television broadcasting, whether it be play-by-play or color analysts, and got an opportunity to coach at Wayne State as a young man. And they said, hey, if you come in and coach the quarterbacks, we'll pay for this grad degree and give you a free apartment on campus. I said, man, I'm in. But certainly that first time that you see the impact that you can have on a student athlete, you sort of get bit by that coaching bug, and the rest is history.
So tell us about your orchestration and dramatic improvement in that Eastern Illinois offense last season. Is that same philosophy going to carry over to the other side of the state? And do you have the personnel to be able to accomplish that?
Yeah, those are great questions. Well, first of all, as Coach Wilkerson is a great coach, and really a lot of credit to him for giving me some autonomy within that offense. I said that one of the great traits about Chris is he's not a meddler, he's not a micromanager. He said, "Hey, I know your background, I know your experience. Let's get this offense headed in the right direction." So, the ground base and the philosophy of the offense is really an attention to detail, and a certain level of standard of excellence that you have to set, I think, within any organization. And we knew that it was going to take a year or two at Eastern, which it did. Certainly having the quarterback, helps a lot. But that same recipe, so to speak, is certainly going to be applied here at Western, and I think probably the biggest issue that we have as coaches is impatience. We want to snap our fingers and be able to win 8 or 9 games right away. But I have some reality in this, saying, we're taking over a team that struggled quite a bit last year on offense. So the second part of your question, do we have the personnel yet? I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I do believe that we probably have a little bit more stability in the quarterback room, just in terms of comparing it when we took over at Eastern. I think Nate has done an excellent job. Our other quarterback that finished spring really is kind of the 1A, Chris Irvin, has had an excellent summer. So I feel really good about those two guys. I feel really, really good about some of the physical characteristics of our offense, meaning the size, the speed, the length. We just haven't played yet. We haven't played a ton of ball, and there's a lot of guys on this offense and in this team in general, Bob, that just haven't played a lot of football yet on Saturdays. And I think that'll be the fun thing this fall as coaches, to see these guys get out there and let's see what they can do.
You talked about Nate Lamb, and then your 1A. Is that, when us guys like to ask these questions in media? Sorry, Joe. Is that a battle of sorts, or are you indecisive about that now?
Yeah, no, it's an absolute battle. I mean, Nate's earned the right to come into fall camp as the number one quarterback, but I've told this entire football team there's no starters yet. I mean, this is a new coaching staff, this is a new era. There's big energy around here, and I want to see some big time competition happen over the next 3 or 4 weeks. And I think that competition will transcend. The guys that we roll out there on week 1 against Northern Illinois, they may not be the starters week 3 against Illinois State. I think it's sort of an evolution as we evaluate this roster. So great programs have a standard of competitive excellence where nobody should be comfortable in whatever role that they've earned that week. And I think that continues to raise the bar, and certainly what we're going to do around here. So in terms of the quarterbacks, Nate's going to start at the 1, but Chris is right on his heels. Chris has been in a Power 5 program, was at Washington State, went to Ventura College last year, and had an excellent season, and was a guy we felt pretty fortunate to get kind of late in the mid-year cycle. So excited about those two guys this fall.
So twofold question on the defense, Joe. First of all, how does an offensive guy choose his defensive coordinator? And second, Juan De La Cruz is also a name that keeps popping up on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. It's certainly a process that I took a lot of time in. It's my intention here to continue to call the offense and coach the quarterback. So I knew that I wanted to find a guy that I thought could be sort of the head coach of the defense. I'm looking at things a little bit sometimes through an offensive lens, and so I know what gives my offense problems. And Coach McEwen, that I hired as our defensive coordinator here, was actually a freshman cornerback at Adrian College when I was a senior quarterback. So we have had a long time relationship, and I watched his career. It has mirrored mine a little bit. None of us were, and on this staff, were born on third base. Dan's a guy that kind of had to cut his teeth in the high school ranks and was in NAIA and in Division III, and sort of moved his way up into Division II. And when we went through the interview process, There were guys from Power Four programs that we were interviewing that Dan just every round of interviews, he just kind of kept rising up, rising up, rising up. So, and the defensive structure that he's going to present this fall is going to be very unique to the Ohio Valley Conference. No one really runs this type of structure. So I thought that in itself gave us a little bit of an inherent advantage. So excited about Coach McEwen and the energy and enthusiasm that he's brought to our program thus far.
So we're still in our early dating phase here, Joe. So ask me, when you're in the home of a recruit, what are you saying about Western Illinois?
Well, I think there's really a 3-bullet approach. When we talk to a young man, and a young man and his family say, well, why Western Illinois? I said, well, number one, you're going to get an opportunity to earn an outstanding degree from one of the best institutions in this region of the country. Number two, you're going to be coached by a relationship-driven staff. A staff of coaches that's going to be very, very intentional about developing you as a young man and building into your life. And then that third point is, and this is very real now, that we have an opportunity to compete for a conference championship. I don't know that Western could say that in the Missouri Valley. Having been in both leagues, I can confidently say that every single year going into the Ohio Valley Conference Big South Alliance, that Western Illinois is going to be competing for a championship, and I want young men to be excited and enthusiastic and be attracted to those things.
Joe Davis, new head coach at Western Illinois. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Bob.